Today, we're going to talk about a secret weapon in design. And nope, it's got nothing to do with pixels or layouts or any of that. It's all about the words you use.
Okay, picture this. You've been grinding for weeks, maybe even months on a prototype. Everything is pixel perfect. The colors are amazing. The user flow seems totally intuitive. But then, you put it in front of a real person and they just get stuck. They pause. They start asking questions that seem so obvious to you. It's a super common and, honestly, a really frustrating problem. So what's the deal?
Well, a lot of the time, the hidden culprit is something we just don't think about enough. The text. Yeah, the copy. Poorly written labels, confusing instructions, or just inconsistent words can totally sink an otherwise beautiful design. It just leaves your users feeling confused and, frankly, a little let down.
And that brings us to a really crucial point here. Your copy isn't just some decoration you sprinkle on top at the very end. No way. It is the absolute foundation of user trust. The words you pick are what guide your users, they set expectations, and they start building a relationship with them from the very first moment they land on your page. See, when your language is confusing or inconsistent, it creates this thing called cognitive overload. It's a fancy term, but all it really means is that you're making your user's brain work way too hard just to figure things out. They have to stop and think, wait a second, what does this mean? Or is this button the same as that other one I saw? All that extra mental work, it leads straight to frustration, and that's when trust starts to break down.
Just look at this super simple example. Imagine a user sees My Cart, then Shopping Bag, and then your order at different points in the checkout process. Their brain has to do this little bit of extra work to realize, okay, these are all the same thing. It's a tiny bit of friction, but that friction creates doubt. Now look at the consistent version. It's just My Cart the whole way through. It's seamless, it's easy, and that builds confidence.
Okay, so how do we actually get this right? Well, it pretty much boils down to three core principles. Think of them as three pillars that you can use to build really effective, trustworthy copy for any project you're working on. And here they are: clarity, consistency, and tone. I know, they might sound a little basic, but trust me, mastering these three things is what separates pretty good design from truly great design. Let's break down what each one actually means, and we'll start with clarity. Being clear is all about being ruthless with your words. You need to look at every single label, every description, every little instruction. Ask yourself, could I use a simpler word here? Can I chop out these extra redundant phrases? The goal is to make the language so simple and direct that your user never ever has to stop and guess what you mean.
Next up, you've got to match the tone. The voice you write with has to fit the situation. So, a super cheerful "hooray" is perfect for a kid's learning app, right? But that same tone would feel totally bizarre and maybe even a little untrustworthy if you saw it on your banking website. Tone is really how you communicate your product's personality.
Now, this is the best part. Focusing on your copy is one of the single most efficient ways to improve your design. You don't always need to do a massive visual overhaul. Sometimes all you really need is a one-word redesign. This right here is the key. Just think about changing a button from a generic word like submit to something clear like create my account. That tiny change adds so much clarity about what's about to happen. These little tweaks can have a massive impact on usability, and they can turn a confusing step into one that feels totally natural. And you know, this isn't just about making things a little easier for the average user, it's about making your product accessible to everyone. Clear, simple language is a huge pillar of inclusive design. It helps users with cognitive disabilities, and it makes sure that screen readers can navigate your site effectively for users who are visually impaired. So, in other words, great copy makes your design work for everyone.
So, as we start to wrap this up, I want to give you a new way to think about all this. Try to stop thinking about it as just writing text. Instead, I want you to start thinking of it as designing a conversation between your product and the person using it.
Every single word you choose helps define that conversation. So, is your product a helpful, friendly guide? Is it a formal, serious expert? Or maybe it's a witty, clever friend? The words you pick are its personality. So before you design another screen, just stop and ask yourself, what is my design's voice? Because finding that voice, that's how you create an experience that doesn't just look good, but one that actually feels human.